that one. The most gospel song ever. Shine, Jesus, shine. Huh? It's a good song. Shine, Jesus, shine. You heard that one? Oh, I'm surprised Perth don't do it. It's got a good tune. Shine, Jesus, shine, let your light. Anyway. We need like an on-air button. Right. What's that one? Read. Oh yeah, no, not for the first. It's too slow for the first one. We're gonna have a fast banger. There's a new world order. That sounds very Illuminati. There's a new world order. It is. There's a new world order soon to arrive just over the border. We will survive. There is a new world order. Be ready. Let us prepare. Nah, let's not do that one. All right, let's go for a fast one. Huh? Most obscure, yes. What is it? There's a bit of me, to be fair. Alright, let's do it. Who's on? Can we please have number 342 to begin with, Tree? Yes. With more gospel synth. And then, yeah, obviously. We need another guitarist? You right? I think this is everyone, to be fair. Who's on the talk? Oh, it's the video, isn't it? Alright, let's do it. Afternoon, everyone. Afternoon. There is speaking in the middle rows. Sorry to interrupt, guys. Can we start the meeting? Alright, afternoon, everyone. We're going to start the second meeting with this one, 342. Great is the Lord. Three. Are we all ready? Almost there. All right, cool. All right, great is the Lord. After 4, 3. 1, 2, 3. Great is the Lord and mighty and power. His understanding has no limit. The Lord delights in those who fear Him. We have known love. He strengthens the bars of your gate. He grants victories in your orders. Fills His word to His people. He has done this for no other nation. Great is the Lord and mighty in power. His understanding has no limit. The Lord, O Jerusalem. One more time. And again. Great is the Lord and mighty in power. His understanding has no limit. Those who fear Him, we have good and unfailing love. He strengthens all of your days. Reveals His word to His people. He has done this to no other nation. Great is the Lord and mighty in power. His understanding has no limit. Jerusalem is your God, O people of Zion. Nice. So we'll be outstanding for the next one, and we'll open in prayer. If we can get Brother Angelo to do that for us. Hallelujah. Praise the Lord.
Yes, Lord, we're truly grateful for a wonderful day you've given us, Lord, a great time this morning, Lord, to fulfill your word, Lord. And we ask you to bless this second meeting now, that what we see and hear, Lord, and that will edify us, uplift us, nourish our hearts, minds and souls, Lord. So we ask you now to bless everything we do in Jesus' almighty name.
Hallelujah. Praise the Lord. Hallelujah. All right, we'll have number 91. It's Setting Me Free. After 3. 1, 2, 3. It's setting me free. This Holy Ghost power. It's setting me free. This very hour. It's flooding my soul. It's making me whole. It's setting me free. Free, free. It's the Holy Ghost. And again. Take your seats. We'll have 461 next. The Lord has given the land of good things. 3. All right. After 3. 1, 2, 3. The Lord has given a land of good things. Press in and make them mine. I know His power. I know His glory. His kingdom I will shine. Awesome. 204 next. Rock my sword, my shield. Couple more. 4. All right. After 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. He's my rock, my sword, my shield. He's my wheel in the middle of the wheel. He's the lily of the valley. My Jeremiah 3:2-6, please. Three. All right, after 3. 1, 2, 3. The King and I walk down Life's road together. Many people go passing by. The greatest one and the lonely beggar walk hand in hand. The King and I, why he should care for me will always be a mystery. He holds the whole world in his hands, and who am I? So my heart sometimes wonder why we're together. The King and I, more than anyone else. I want to see Jesus. I want to see Him who suffered for me, safe in His arms. I love and adore Him, and I tell Him that I love Him more than anyone else. Cool, sounds really good. Over to Pastor Steve. Thanks.
All right. Give me a couple of minutes and then in Numbers chapter 11, if you open your Bible, I'm going to show a YouTube video which is not to do with what I'm reading out. I want to talk about the second meeting, and particularly the second meeting talk, what the idea is, what we're looking for really, and hopefully explain it a little bit. In verse Numbers 11, if you're there. In verse 7, it's talking about the manna that came from heaven. It says, the manna was as coriander seed, size-wise, I think, and the colour thereof was the colour of bdellium. And the people went about and gathered it and ground it in mills or beat it in the mortar and baked it in pans and made cakes of it. And the taste of it was as the taste of fresh oil. Sounds lovely. But they had a variety of ways of dealing with this manna. And the other day, I was around Ashes the other day, and good company. We walked here in the rain, which wasn't a good plan at all. Anyway, but he said he pushed himself in the chair, and he says other days he'll do it again when it's not raining. But that's a good little thing. But on his dinner, he's a very healthy eater, because he used to be a boxer, and he's also in his situation he has to be a healthy eater, because although he does wear a house and that, like. I thought, yeah, no, that's I should be a bit more healthy-minded. And then on Friday, I got these from Dobby's. I got these chicken breasts, which are healthy, aren't they? But they're boring. They're really boring. And so I thought, I'll go on the internet and I'll go on Gordon Ramsay and find out what to do with a chicken breast. And I made a schnitzel. All right. So with the schnitzel, exactly as Gordon. Well, I didn't make it the way Gordon made it, but Gordon was my main man. You cut it in half, you bash it, you spread it out, you put egg on it and breadcrumbs on it, and you cook it, and it was fab. Lawrence went out, so he doesn't know. It was fabulous. It really was one of the best things I've ever made. And this is what they did with the manna. You know, they didn't just get it and put it out. They kept it. So the idea of a second meeting really is that we do something a little bit different. Now, just a qualifier, in Adelaide, Pastor Jock, I think it's in Elizabeth, he says if you get put on the second meeting and you give just an ordinary, what's called an instruction in righteousness talk, what you should and shouldn't do, he says you won't be put on again. He gets quite, because there's so much knowledge, and now here that's not the case, because we've got a lot of young fellas on the up, so they can kind of do what they want. But if we can get something like 50% of second meeting talks that come from a different angle, Jerry's got his funny artwork, hasn't he? With his nose bleeding baby. I say that advisedly, the nose bleeding baby. At least you remember it. And Chris was talking a couple of weeks ago about how in the modern day light and dark are being mixed up together. But neither of those things are instruction in righteousness. Right? That's more for the first talk. Now, as I say, it would be nice if we got 70% that was something like what I'm going to show you. I think it's quite good. This is about how there must be a creator and how evolution can't be the case. It's just a good argument from something to do with C.S. Lewis that wrote Narnia. So I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. I wanted to share it, and this is the best place for it. But if we could aim for 70-30, now, just a caveat, like my brother, my older brother, Chris was one as well, can cook. Like, he can't cook no more, he's dead, my other brother. But he could make cheese on toast nice. Right, so, if what you do in the second talk is more just a bit plain, but you can enjoy that, I'm not saying don't do that. But I'm saying for the whole fellowship, the idea is to have the second talk as a different flavour, or we will get boring, to be honest. So, you've had enough boredom in the first talk. You can't have two doses of that. So just something to bear in mind, to make something of all the things that are to hand. There's so much to hand. One thing with YouTube is, again, YouTube is good for nature and a few other things, maybe a bit of history. When it comes to doctrine, no, just no. And I sometimes show the Southern Baptist fella that calls the sinner's prayer a superstitious prayer. Remember that one? Well, I think that's okay, but that's near the line still. That's still near the line. So when it comes to using things like this or slides, I say some people are never going to do slides, and I'm not demanding 100% like Pastor Jock, because we've got a different makeup of fellowship. That's not their time is that time. Our time is where we're at. But just to promote the idea anyway. So this is me chicken schnitzel. All right, so it's just trying to make the same thing a bit more interesting. You stick it on. I put the spider video on at the end, which is nothing to do with the talk. It's more for Titan who loves Spider-Man, and I mentioned it in the first meeting. So 3 minutes.
A few months after being discharged from the army at the end of World War I, a 20-year-old C.S. Lewis published his first book, a cycle of poems titled Spirits in Bondage. The opening poem, Satan Speaks, provided a grim portrait of nature that might startle many of Lewis's later readers. I am nature, the mighty mother. I am the law, ye have none other. I am the flower and the dewdrop fresh. I am the lust in your itching flesh. I am the battle's filth and strain. I am the widow's empty pain. I am the sea to smother your breath. I am the bomb, the falling death. I am the spider making her net. I am the beast with jaws blood wet. Lewis's passionate, even angry atheism during his early years was inspired by what he referred to as the argument from undesign. The idea that nature's cruelty and waste supplies the best evidence against a belief in a benevolent creator. Lewis's attraction to the argument from undesign reflected personal tragedies, such as his mother's death during his childhood. But it also showed the impact of writers like H.G. Wells, who nourished the young Lewis's imagination with depictions of a universe that was vast, cold, and impersonal. Even after Lewis accepted Christianity, the argument from undesign made him skeptical of some traditional arguments for the Christian God based on the intelligent design of nature.
Lewis never thought that the evidence for intelligent design alone could get you to belief in a Christian God. And in that way, he was similar to many modern intelligent design theorists who think that the evidence for intelligent design is important in defeating materialism and can actually help you understand that there is a need for a transcendent intelligent cause. But determining whether that cause is God or what other attributes he may have goes beyond just the scientific evidence and requires evidence from philosophy and history and other forms of argument. And so Lewis, although he appreciated intelligent design, always thought that it was a more limited argument, and in that way he anticipated many of the arguments of current intelligent design theorists.
Despite Lewis's skepticism of some arguments for God's existence based on intelligent design, he ended up offering several positive arguments supportive of intelligent design in nature.
The story of how Lewis went from believing and being convinced by the argument from undesign to understanding that the universe displayed evidence of intelligent design is really intriguing. It basically is the story of how Lewis had to confront evidence throughout nature and the human world that really didn't fit with the materialist worldview. And that evidence ultimately persuaded him that there needed to be something more than materialism, and really brought him to believe that there really was design in the universe.
Lewis's first argument supportive of intelligent design was the argument from natural beauty. From early on, Lewis's pessimistic view of nature as cruel and wasteful was balanced by the longings nature stirred within him. For Lewis, our experience of beauty in nature pointed to the reality of something beyond nature. Atoms dead could never thus stir the human heart of us, unless the beauty that we see, the veil of endless beauty be. In Lewis's view, the longings provoked by earthly beauty could not be accounted for by a blind and mechanical universe. They required a transcendent cause outside of nature. This cause was not necessarily personal, but it did go beyond undirected matter and energy. As a consequence, it put intelligent design back on the table as one of the options for discussion. Lewis's second argument supportive of intelligent design was the argument from morality.
It was really the moral law that got Lewis thinking about how the argument from undesign ultimately was unsatisfactory. Because if we really think that the universe is evil or that it's cruel, where do we get that standard from? If the universe is just what it is, and it just is put together because of blind matter and motion, and it couldn't be anything else, then where do we get off expressing outrage at it? It's just the way it is. So if we really think that there is a moral right and wrong, as most people do, and we want to hold to that belief, we really have to come up with some explanation other than blind matter and motion. In fact, the moral law, Lewis thought, pointed towards the need for a transcendent cause for morality. And that transcendent cause for morality opens the door to considering intelligent design as the explanation for morality.
Lewis's third argument supportive of intelligent design was the argument from reason.
The argument from reason is just the argument that in a naturalistic worldview, reason isn't going to fit, because in the last analysis, everybody's thoughts are going to be the result of non-rational causes. You're basically trying to say that human reasoning, the very kind of reasoning that produced the origin of species, that produced Einstein's theory of relativity, that adds, subtracts, divides numbers, and so forth. What you're saying is all of that is ultimately the product of irrational causes, non-rational causes. That is an incoherent position, okay? Because it says that somehow you can derive intelligence from that which is not intelligent.
Lewis's fourth argument, supportive of intelligent design, was the argument from functional complexity.
According to Lewis, modern science, especially Darwinian biology, has schooled us to think that crude and simple things in nature naturally develop into more complex and sophisticated things. The acorn turns into the oak tree. The egg turns into the owl. The human embryo turns into a full-fledged human being. Sometimes evolutionists even point to technological development as an example of this same process. The early locomotive engine supposedly evolved into the much more complicated modern train engine. Or the simple boat evolved into the steamship or passenger ship. Lewis called this evolutionary view an optical illusion. What we really see in nature, according to Lewis, is simpler and less functional things habitually springing from things that are more complex and functional. If anything, it's a process of devolution, not evolution. Every acorn originally drops from a fully developed oak tree. Every owl's egg comes from a fully developed owl. Every human embryo requires two fully developed human parents. The same is true with technological evolution. The modern train engine didn't simply magically evolve from a simpler train engine, according to Lewis. It sprang from something far greater, the mind of man. And Lewis thought that just like we have to go outside the physical sequence of train engines to find the originator of the engines, we need to go outside the ordinary course of nature to find the originator of nature, the intelligent designer. Lewis's argument from functional complexity is an explicit argument for intelligent design.
Lewis's argument from functional complexity was based on his belief that an effect could not be greater than its original cause. Put another way, a copy could not be better than the original. This was a Platonic idea that Lewis found in medieval writers, such as Boethius.
I think his most consistent argument was the argument from the copy and the original. You see it in fiction, non-fiction, all over the place. And he argues there that if we consider the source of an idea, it's not possible for the idea to contain more information than could be found in the sum of its causes. Lewis, in an informal way, seems to have anticipated some of the ideas of Bill Dembski here, because Bill Dembski has published many works that support the idea that you really can't get new information out of undirected causes. You have to go to some intelligent source. And Lewis's various versions of this argument from the copy and the original always take you back to some source that already contained information.
In addition to making his own positive arguments for intelligent design, Lewis answered some common objections to intelligent design, such as the idea that it's an obstacle to scientific progress.
It's commonly argued that intelligent design is a science stopper, but C.S. Lewis pointed out that he thought it was a science starter. According to Lewis, early scientists looked for regularities and laws in nature because they thought there was a legislator behind nature. Far from frustrating the progress of science, the belief in design helped inspire it. According to Lewis, the fact that many modern scientists reject intelligent design is what should concern us. If they no longer believe in a lawgiver behind nature, why should they continue to expect nature to act reasonably or to be able to find regularities in nature?
Another objection to intelligent design answered by Lewis was the idea that the laws of nature make design unnecessary.
Sometimes people argue that the laws of nature can create highly complex biological features without the need for intelligent design. But Lewis pointed out that the laws of nature can't do anything themselves. They require input from outside. The laws of motion don't make the billiard balls move. It's the player with the cue who hits the ball that makes the balls move. The laws of nature describe what will happen given certain inputs, but they don't explain away the need for the inputs in the first place.
Perhaps C.S. Lewis's greatest contribution to the debate over intelligent design was his support for open discussion and debate.
I don't think most people really realize how dedicated Lewis was to the idea of open inquiry and free debate in his own life. In fact, while he was at Oxford University, he helped found a group called the Oxford Socratic Club, whose reason for existence was to debate the merits and the evidence for Christianity. They met every week, and lots of students went to it, and faculty, and they hashed out the arguments pro and con, and they adopted as their motto an injunction from Socrates that we should follow the argument wherever it leads.
And it was before this group that a young graduate student presented a paper eloquently arguing for atheism. That student went on to become one of the world's leading academic atheists. His name was Antony Flew.
Flew was never convinced by Lewis's arguments for theism, but he admired C.S. Lewis, and especially Lewis's dedication to following the argument where it leads. And he adopted that motto as his own motto. So much so that near the end of his life, Antony Flew shocked many of his colleagues and people around the world by declaring that he thought the evidence now showed that there was a God. He had followed the argument where it led, and it led him to belief in God. And what was really determinative of that was some of the arguments for intelligent design.
The integrated complexity of the organic world is just inordinately greater. You know, all the creatures are complicated pieces of design.
Just like Lewis, Flew had followed the argument where it led, and it led him to intelligent design.
In an age of increasing dogmatism in the name of science, C.S. Lewis's defense of the unhindered search for truth is just as relevant for us today as it was during his own lifetime, maybe even more so. As Lewis knew, it's by continuing to pursue the argument that we can discover new worlds, explore new wonders, and grasp new truths.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal.
Some things are easier to follow the second time. That's the second time I've watched that. And just as a little, the fella Flew, he dies in 2010, Professor Flew. But I've seen another interview and where he talks through what really span him round. And he's not where we are. He doesn't know what we know. But he was interesting all the same. So you get things to follow up. But I wouldn't have put him on, Flew on his own. I'll just finish off with this one. As I say, there's a little spider, and it's got an ability to shoot a web so far that if it was as big as me, it would shoot it. You know, Spider-Man, he does it like this, doesn't he? Like, if I was standing here and I had the equivalent power as that spider, my web, under my control, would reach Angelo's house. I worked that out in a kind of way. I think it's a few hundred times your thumb or something. I can't remember what it was now, compared to that, and then I calculated it, and you wouldn't understand. It's probably wrong, but it might be further. So, but that, to me, that just knocked me sideways. And Titan loves spiders, so I thought I'd put it on. I was going to show him earlier, but it was too noisy. It's the only time I get a chance to. 3 minutes and then we're done, yeah? In fact, yeah.
Like a real-life spider woman, she sprays strands of silk in one long, continuous flow. The threads fan out like a sail and drift on air currents blowing across the water. Every few seconds, she crimps the strands together to stop them spreading too widely. The breeze will do the rest, blowing the threads into a single line and a 25-meter bridge. Now she must reinforce her bridge because her web will hang from it. But there's something bouncing the line at the other end. Another Darwin spider is trying to take advantage of her hard work. She must deal with the intruder head-on. The cut line is an inconvenience, but no more than that. With hooks on the tips of each leg, she gathers in the thread. It won't go to waste, as she'll eat it later. When it's all reeled in, she sprays again. Out streams another 25-meter bridging line. How a spider no bigger than a thumbnail can produce so much silk so quickly has baffled scientists. And it's no ordinary silk. It's the toughest natural fibre on the planet, tougher than steel. And it needs to be tough to span the wide river. With the bridge taut and the ground anchor in place, it's time to construct her trap. These spiders can build the world's largest orb webs, up to 2 meters wide. A few hours from the first spray of bridging line, the job is done.